Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. I am your host Holly and I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Hello, how are you all feeling?
Well, I think I need to start with an apology. I feel I need to apologise for my prediction of 5-0 minimum. For Richard, I feel like I should apologise for tempting fate. Clearly, that performance and almost result was on me.
And for those people wondering who Richard is, do you want to say who that is?
No, just one of our followers who joined up with us before the game for a pre-game chat, and who was very cross with me for predicting 5-0 and clearly tempting fate. And he was right. I was wrong, and for that, Richard, I apologise.
It was
and to all Richards everywhere. We should apologise.
Yes, I also feel like I should apologise, but I did base my prediction on fact and statistics, and I neglected emotion, complacency, arrogance, fear, maybe nerves. I don't know. I felt it was a game to make a statement. And I think we did make a statement.
Yeah, I was going to say
I'm not sure it was the statement I hoped for before the game kicked off. However, 3 points is 3 points. So the question I'd like to pose to you two, and Steph, you can kick off with this. Was yesterday's performance a cause for concern, or was it a sign of champions?
My overall feeling, even now, is that it's a slight cause for concern. Were we about to welcome back a couple of important players like Havertz, say, and especially Gabriel, I might think, okay, that's fine. We can settle down with a stronger lineup. And I know there was only a couple of players missing, but I mean, Gabriel is feeling like something of a heartbeat of the team that we could move on from. But we should see an improvement. The worry is that it's a mixture of player fatigue, concentration, a run of incredibly difficult games, the likes of Villa, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and all those sorts of things. And if a performance may have been in the post, I'm not sure that is the case. I feel like I'm making too many excuses. I feel watching the game, like I said in the instant reaction I did in the ground, that actually it was all just too safe and too sideways and not forward enough. And those are very basic things to say, but it was very frustrating to watch. That's a cause of concern.
Yeah, we shouldn't have been surprised by Wolves setting up the way they did.
No, not at all.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah,
cause for concern or a...
I mean, cause for concern if it carries on. I've got very sort of mixed feelings around this because personnel-wise, that team yesterday we put out was more than good enough to do the job. I felt, notwithstanding the, Gabriel missing and Havertz missing, that team was good enough to get a result and put in a performance. And so the fact that it was so insipid, and as you said, Steph, the lack of intensity of just trying stuff, it was way too safe, almost as if we felt it was going to happen. I'm not sure about the arrogance thing. I mean, maybe there's a tiny bit of that subconsciously of thinking, well, it's Wolves, we'll get the breakthrough eventually. But the longer it went on, you could see Wolves building in confidence, and we just didn't have any answers. They were just sat off on that sort of 30, 40-yard line. As soon as we breached that line, they were on to us. It was pretty standard template for them. So for me, the concern will be if the trend continues. I can't remember having seen us being so insipid. Certainly not in a second half as well, where you would have thought they'd have got a bit of a rocket at half time. You've mentioned before, Holly, how second half we've been able to turn games around. Well, barring, two lucky own goals have saved us ultimately. So I can't even say it's the mark of champions where we've, one player has turned it around for us. We got very lucky.
Have you guys rewatched it? I haven't. Have you guys rewatched it?
I've seen the highlights again.
Bits.
I've only watched the 9-minute highlights on BBC, the Match of the Day thing.
Yeah.
I think we created more chances in the second half than we realised we did. Erdegaard and Martinelli in particular had great opportunities, and if they'd squared instead of shooting, if they'd squared it, Gyökeres had a 2-yard tap in, but we'll get to him and his game later. That team, Chris, that started, you said they were good enough to beat Wolves. You'd probably back them against that team against most opposition, not just Wolves. The legs were quite fresh as well. Like, if players either coming back from injury or who'd been rested in midweek. It wasn't like Ben White aside, and we all thought, okay, is he after so long out capable of playing 3/4 consecutive matches? Well, we found out that no, he's not. And Arteta kind of acknowledged that after the game. He said, if I'm being honest, Saliba shouldn't have started that game, but we really had no other options. I mean, Miles Lewis-Skelly on the bench, and Norgard could have played at centre back. Rice could have played at centre back, but we did have options, but he just wasn't prepared to use them. And we're talking about Norgard as our 5th or 6th choice centre back, so you can understand that to an extent. But hindsight's great and all that, but we did say that before the game kicked off. My issue was, you said, Chris, again, that you'd be worried if this trend continues. Well, I think there's an argument to say we're in the middle of it already. This trend has been continuing. We can go back to that Sunderland game, first half, second half contrast, and then 74 minutes, go 2-1 up at Sunderland, then completely sit back and invite them on, and another kind of fortuitous little ricochet in the box, and they've got a goal. Aston Villa the same. That's what's that one? How am I going to do my maths now? That's 3 points we've lost in that fashion, and we nearly lost 2 more points yesterday. So my feeling was that one of the other reasons I backed Arsenal to win comfortably 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, whatever it was yesterday, is because I believed this Arsenal was a serious iteration of an Arsenal team. I just felt this Arsenal was different. And the thing that I find so worrying about yesterday, or a bit crushing by yesterday's game, is the familiarity. That's old. That was old Arsenal. That was last season's Arsenal, struggling to break down a team that comes and plays with a low block. And that's that. What do you call it? The horseshoe of death, the arc of doom. I don't know, whatever you call it. It was sideways and sideways. And you used the word, Steph, safe. And it really only changed when Trossard came on and all of a sudden started picking these forward passes or breaking that line to the runners. And that changed it. I mean, it wasn't transformative. It wasn't a chalk and cheese first half, second half. It was not quite more of the same. It was a little bit better. Even Arteta said it was just a little bit better, a little improvement. He wasn't. He was quite realistic in his post-match comments.
I thought Saka was probing well on the right. He was consistent throughout as well. And
again, feeding into my sense of familiarity and old Arsenal, that we said it, Steph, certainly in the first half, everything was going through Saka. Everything. It was like, well, hang on a minute, have we not got any other way of playing, any other personnel on the pitch? We've got Martinelli on the left, who is just a stranger out there. We've got Eze through the middle. We've got Gyökeres through the middle. Why is there this insistence? And Saka was like, he absolutely carried us through that game. And yeah, why are we still playing that way? I don't know what it looked like on TV, Chris, but I know, Steph, you were in particular quite vocal in observing that fact, shall we say.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, the commentator watching it on the box, I can't remember what channel it was, but said, Arsenal are exploiting Wolves' left back because he's not it's not his familiar position, which I don't know whether that's true or not, but I just thought, no, that's not the case at all. We're just playing it to Saka, as you said, because that seems to be our only kind of, it's plan A, plan B, plan C for this game. There didn't seem to be any other option. Like the left was just when we switch it and switch it back, there was no penetration from the left at all.
You said something in the WhatsApp group at half-time, Chris, and you're watching it on telly. You said that Rice, and I didn't see this in the ground, I thought Rice was actually quite good. I thought that was the sense I got in the ground. But you said that Rice is clearly still struggling. And he did at the final whistle, he went straight down the tunnel. He didn't do his little lap.
Yeah. Just a few moments where you just catch him and think that's not, it's, you're used to such a high bar, as we say, for so many of our players. It just didn't seem like he was on it as much, but he still probably delivered a 6 or 7, performance.
You're not allowed to say 6 or 7.
Oh, God, for the kids, no. Without doing that.
There's no kids watching or listening to us. It's all right. That's not our demographic. Sorry if you are under 25 and listening and watching. We love you, and I don't mean to alienate. I don't mean to alienate you, but 6, 7.
God.
We're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of this hideous trend or whatever it is. Match stats are interesting. Steph, you said something earlier about the match stats of the second half up until the 82nd minute or something. Well, we had like 80-something% of the possession. We had all of the chances, all of the shots, all of the XG, and Wolves had nothing, which was interesting. The overall match stats, we had 70% overall possession. We had 16 shots to their 3. We both had 2 on target. That's an issue. Okay. Our XG was 1.02. Theirs was 0.38. Our XG from open play was 0.76. So yeah, we were creating chances, but they weren't very good ones. Their XG was 0.38. We hit the woodwork. I don't remember. When did we hit the woodwork? I have no memory of this.
Did we hit the post?
Yeah.
When?
I'm trying to think who it was.
I don't remember it. Was it first half or second half?
I can't remember now.
We have to look that one up.
The BBC say we hit the woodwork, and when I wrote it down, I thought, I don't remember this. So it must have been the first half, I'm thinking, because we can't often see what's going down the other end.
You must have had a good view of possibly the best chance of the first half when Huang broke through.
Yeah.
No covering defender.
It was. I mean, that's the moment that Ben White did his hammy, and I saw him pull up straight away. But go on,
so it's also reminiscent of previous iterations of Wolves where because there was a couple of seasons where they were very much the bogey side of Man City, because they would do that. They'd do the classic away team performance and counterpunch. I remember Armand Traore scoring a very, very similar kind of chance. And the fact that we've been suckered into it, again, just shows that there is a familiarity. That did feel like a bit of a throwback that I haven't seen this season. The reason I was less ebullient in my prediction was because of the recent games, and also, I don't know, I just felt like there was something ominous about the fact that Wolves were coming to us, in such a sorry state. And then it was like a different kind of pressure, because all of a sudden the expectation was Arsenal to really like hammer them. And I wonder how much that, again, subconsciously, you hope, plays into the players. Like, because I called it a game where you can't really win, and because like even if you thrash them,
we nearly proved you right.
Yeah,
there was no pressure on Wolves, was there? There was absolutely no pressure on Wolves whatsoever. They've just been tonked by United. They've obviously had a morale boosting huddle before this game and said, come on, we can do it. No pressure, league leaders. Let's go and make a statement. And, they, as I said, they kind of controlled that first half, even though they had very little possession. Their game plan worked perfectly.
I also saw a Wolves fan on TikTok, and I can't remember the profile. He was talking about how even though obviously he's absolutely gutted with the way it ended up. He did feel, looking at that Wolves team, that they'd learnt some lessons from the United game. The defence was a little bit more organised. They weren't just following a runner and abandoning a space. That was something that he referred to in the United game in particular, and United were able to just obviously exploit that far more easily. So they were a bit more disciplined in their defensive actions. And like you say, they come into the league leaders. They're not going to do anything different besides that. So the onus really should have been on us to take advantage of that, which is why it was so disappointing that, I feel like Gyökeres's runs were not even attempted to, and if they were, it was really, really poorly executed. Eze didn't really establish himself and imprint himself on the game too much, and we just became that one-dimensional team where it was like, give it Saka and hope he does something with it. Now, he did do something with it. He did, because he's an absolutely excellent quality player. But I felt like we'd hopefully moved beyond that a little bit, and we could attack from different angles. Martinelli is clearly, his kryptonite is teams that play in a low block, because he doesn't seem to do it. That one run he made just before he was subbed off was like almost from the halfway line. Wolves, for whatever reason, had kind of pushed up a little bit. He managed to beat his man, run in, and then, unfortunately didn't arc his shot, or could have passed it to Gyökeres, theme of the game, and didn't manage to finish. But otherwise, he's kind of just inert. So would Madueke, who will take people on, almost at will, would Eze have been better operating from that side, even though I know we've said maybe he's not been as brilliant from the left. But when a team is that, deep and focused, maybe you need some of that. And then I get to watch Aston Villa today, as we record on the Sunday, again bust their XG because they're taking shots from different distance, and they're, albeit that it was a bit of a madcap game, they're chancing their arm. He who dares Rodders and all that.
This time next year.
Yeah, well.
We'll be champions. Yeah. Because Rice actually in the second half, now, you have to forgive myself and Steph's perspective on the game in the ground, because we're very much camped low down behind the goal in the North Bank. So what transpires in the other penalty box is a bit of a blur to us. However, in the second half, I and this is what I mentioned Rice to you, Chris. I do think he stepped up. He had the free kick. He also had the shot. That was well saved, actually, by the keeper, pushed out. I don't think it went for a corner. And then he played the ball through for Saka to challenge for, and the header went out. The Wolves defender put it out for the corner from which we scored. So he did have... Now, a couple of his corners didn't beat the first man. A couple of his corners were taken short. Really annoyingly, and this has nothing to do with Rice, the insistence on this long throw, for me, it was like... just a redundant tactic. We should not have been. It was futile. It was like he got more distance on it, perhaps, than we'd anticipated. But go on.
I was going to say it was the slowing down of the game around it.
Yeah,
and it just seemed like a muddled approach, because they were taking short corners. Whether they'd looked at the Wolves team and just thought, hang on, we're short of a couple of especially sort of physically imposing and taller players like Havertz, Gabriel. Maybe we're not going to, rely so heavily on just, corner kick after corner kick. So we'll take it short. So that means kind of taking it quickly, trying to catch them when they're not set. And yet every time we got a throw in that final third, it was stop the game for a good minute or two. And it was just...
First half, not second half.
No,
don't remember any of it in the second half.
Yeah, and that was, again, so you wonder if Arteta's had a word at half-time and gone, what are you doing, slowing the game down? Play it quick, play it first time, get on.
You think that team would give the ball to Declan Rice on both sides of the pitch to take long throws from those positions without instruction from Arteta to do so?
I know.
Like Mr. Control Freak. So it was his, but at least he, again, a couple of issues maybe with Arteta pre-season, one about rotation and the other maybe about in-game management. I think his in-game management has been exemplary. I think anytime he's seen an issue, he's tweaked it, he's resolved it, even if it's meant acknowledging he got it wrong to begin with. I don't think his ego hasn't got in the way of those decisions, unlike a couple of other managers you could point to. I do think he's quite willing to be proactive in that sense. The rotation thing, I I think he's getting better. There's no question he's getting better. I think he's been hamstrung, no pun intended, by the injuries that we keep getting in certain areas. Can you do a badum-tish to that?
Yeah, I'll find a badum-tish, yeah.
I've lost my train of thought there. So it was Rice, and I thought Rice actually stepped up. I thought as the game progressed, he got more influential in it, coupled with the Trossard change. And again, Martinelli made that kind of slaloming run that we wanted him to make from the beginning of the game. It was, apart from back and side and back, over and back, over and back. Here we go. So you've just passed the ball 3 times over to the left and 3 times back, and you're back with the same player again. Ben White has got the ball, and like, what we're going to do? Pass it out to Saka. Saka's going to pass it back to him. He's going to pass infield to Zubimendi. He's going to pass it to the left to Hincapié. He's going to put it out to BlueSky, whoever's playing at the left back, and it's going to come back again, like nothing. And there were a smattering of boos at half time. I don't know, Chris, if the TV mics, cameras picked that up. It was frustration because there was nothing. And I don't know, Steph, you didn't agree with me. I think the crowd were pretty good to begin with, but the flatness of the game just kind of
it absolutely didn't help. No.
Yeah.
There were a few people leaving after the equaliser, which I find really
good.
Odd.
Hilarious. They missed that. Like, it was a late kickoff, granted. Like, it was very late. But
I mean, surely the state of the game dictates whether you leave early or not. It's on a knife edge, for God's sake. If we were 4-0 up and you want to get your train, fine. But even then, I'm staying till the end. But I can't tell people what to do. But
just on the atmosphere, there are mitigating circumstances in the fact that it is a late game on a Saturday. You're a couple of weekends out from Christmas. It's against, I hate to say this, but it is against the team that are at the bottom. You know, it's not, got one of the lures, an attraction that a Category A game has. There were a lot of people around us who had clearly, sold their ticket on the exchange or something like that, and it brings just with it a slightly different vibe. And then when the game kicks off and it's just that repeated pattern, like there wasn't anything to get excited about. And it was only towards the end of the game, because of the goals and the reaction after conceding, that meant it built up to something of a crescendo. But that itself is a sort of damning indictment of where we were at in the game, because we'd had to come back as we did.
Do you want to hear a couple of pretty unique or pretty bizarre stats, or curious, interesting stats to illustrate the uniqueness of yesterday?
Always.
They're quite long. I've written them down, so good luck with reading my own handwriting here. Harvey Downs is the author of both of these, so you may have seen him. Albino's retweeted them. This was the first time we've ever won a game in the Premier League having conceded a goal while not having one of our own players on the score sheet. Wolves scored all 3 goals. Like, it's mad. We're normally on the receiving end of those kind of stats, but it's nice. Well, is it nice to be on the other side of it? I don't know. And this is just the second time we've won a Premier League game having conceded a result-altering goal after the 90-minute mark.
Okay.
So it's only the second time we've gone on. So when we've conceded a goal in stoppage time, which has altered the result, so like yesterday turned it from a victory to a draw. And the previous time was against Burnley in 2017. I couldn't be bothered to go and look that up. I have no idea what game that is.
Alexis Sanchez? Penalty?
Yeah.
Maybe?
I don't know. So it was just bizarre. Yeah. And I mean, I one of my apologies at the beginning I was going to offer was to Wolves as well. They were so hard done by in that game. Yeah. Like, their game plan worked a treat, and fair play to them. And that, if I was a Wolves fan, I'd be gutted, but I'd be quite encouraged as well. That was a bit of a turning point for them. They come away with a lot of credit, I must admit. I have enjoyed the Hate Watch compilations that have been doing the rounds today of all the other fans like celebrating. It basically starts with the flukiness of our first goal, the delirium experienced by all these United and Spurs and City and Liverpool fans for the Wolves equaliser, and the absolute despair when Wolves guy Mosquera headed into his own net. Very good header and nice bit of karma with him. Someone pointed out in our comments that he is the very same Mosquera Wolves player who cupped Jesus' arse in the fixture last season. Was it last season or 2 seasons ago?
Start of last season, I think.
And
and
first
also
game of
tried
last
to
season.
choke out Havertz on the
Was that the same guy
Same
that
guy.
tried to choke Havertz?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Same guy.
So we go and sign his brother. There you go. And incidentally, own goals this weekend. I mean, the one today from Voltemard for
brilliant goal.
Sunderland that won the Tyne Weir derby.
I haven't seen it.
What a header!
What a header.
Really?
Why was
I
he
haven't
there?
seen it. I must.
What was he doing?
Just on the Sunderland one, I'm all here for pettiness in football. I think it's brilliant, but I didn't realise this. But that I did look. I saw I didn't see any football today, but I did see the like the last minute of that game, the little kerfuffle, the handbags, and then the final whistle, and then the celebrations. I mean, look, I can get on board with Newcastle losing any day of the week unless it's against one of our direct rivals. But I thought, what are they doing? Like getting everybody into this photograph. And then, so was it 3 seasons ago? Newcastle beat Sunderland 3-0 at the Stadium of Light in the FA Cup. Might have been the FA Cup.
It was.
And then they did that same photo in front of their celebrating fans. So even though someone pointed out, completely different management team, pretty much completely different set of players, but somebody in the backroom staff thought, we win this game, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
You can see, you just know they used that. Arteta would have used that as a, and Lebrie seems like such a micromanager as well. He leaves no stone unturned. He will have used that. He probably had that photograph up on the changing rooms. I know I would if that was me trying to motivate Sunderland. So I thought that was brilliant as a little distraction for my own. Why do I feel like we lost the game yesterday?
Because we've set the standard so high and we were expectant of a much better performance. And also we're probably all slightly worrying that this is a turn in form.
About Man City as well.
And we're worrying about Man City, who won again today, yeah.
But they're still behind us. We're still top.
They are.
Top.
And I was following James Benge, who was covering the game while I was watching the Sunderland-Newcastle match. And he was very critical of Man City. He says, Palace have basically been the better team, but the moments of quality all come down to City. When they've got a front line with Haaland and Foden, they're the difference makers at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
but they're
he's
giving
the
up
cheat
loads
code,
of chances.
isn't he? So.
Yeah.
Now, okay, nice little segue there. Haaland to our own number 9, Gyökeres. His underlying numbers aren't great from yesterday, or from the season, I guess. The more games that pass and he doesn't score, his numbers aren't fantastic this season. First half, I thought he was really poor, but again, the caveat is I have no idea what's going on down the other end of the pitch. I thought he should have, from the replay, and from what people have said since, it seems to reinforce that when Saka put that ball across, he should have been on the end of it. And and the guy next to me said, he was sliding, he slid in. I'm like, yeah, but let's watch it again.
That.
Yeah,
yes.
He got there too late. Yeah. He had to slide in like that and just narrowly miss it. So it looked like he made a good effort, and he did make a good effort if you just freeze frame it at that point. But he was caught on his heels. That anticipation. Now, whether that's, and Saka, he must have known Saka was capable of putting it across there, because that's what Saka does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Relationship building is key to that, isn't it? Is like when he knows how efficient Saka is and that it is going to go there, you gamble because you know the likelihood is it's going to get to you. My concern with him at the moment is I give him a little bit of leeway because of the fact that he's coming off an injury and he seems like the sort of player who needs time to get his rhythm like he did when he started with us. And he got to that peak against Burnley where he thought, now we're onto something here. And it's a shame that his momentum has been halted. But yesterday, worried me in that I think I give him a little bit of leeway, but there are things there about his game where I feel like, are you just that slow generally?
Or for me in the first half, be stronger. Like, he was knocked over every single time, and he on the ground and like, get up. Like, you're huge. You're built. You're stacked. Whatever it is you've got to be stronger than that.
I think that's frustration when forwards do that. They're not getting a lot of the ball, and they're just going to try and win a free kick. I've seen that before with a lot of...
In the second half, though, it was slightly different because we can then see his runs. Now, again, he had no space. Wolves are playing deep and packing their defensive lines. I get that. And we're not threading the balls through. We're going sideways. He can't do anything about that. There's no space to run into, so he's kind of waiting for someone to, like, take on a player, commit another player, create a bit of space he can move into. He's waiting for a few dominoes to fall before he can actually create or find himself within that space, and then he needs the ball to come to him, like the Saka one did, and he wasn't ready for it. But in the second half, however, we could see the runs he was making. He made lots of runs. Timber put his hand up, didn't play him through. Zubimendi, hand up, didn't play him through. Rice didn't even look, didn't see it. There were loads of opportunities where the ball could have gone through. Over the top, between the two centre-halves, it could have gone through with a bit more ambition. Safe, Steph, you used the word safe. A bit more risk with the passes. All of a sudden, Trossard comes on and he does that, and we create space, and Gyökeres has his best moments. So second half, I was a lot more encouraged by Gyökeres. And I wrote down, Gyökeres isn't the problem. It's a systemic problem. And the second half was a lot better. He had his own, and maybe what you said, Chris, he was less frustrated because he was being utilised more, perhaps, as the second half progressed, after the substitutions were made. So not the first 15 minutes. His runs would be made in the first 15 minutes and they were just being ignored. Trossard comes on and they start picking him up. But he had that moment where he received the ball in the penalty area, to the edge of the penalty area, held off the defender, turned, and then got a shot away with his left foot, which was just wide of the far post. That was the decent centre-forward play, that was good. But then there's two other chances, the Ødegaard chance and the Martinelli chance, and both went for goal. And had they just not played the individual and played the team, Gyökeres had a tap-in from 2 yards. And we'd have all been saying, oh, no, we wouldn't, but the opposition fans, oh, look, easy goal, 1 yard, 2 yards in. But, they count.
Yeah.
Man City's system is set up for those players in the same position to give the ball to Haaland. But our players are not, whether they're just not in that mindset yet, whether it's not become instinct to look for him, I don't know.
And again, frustration plays its role because we needed a goal, so Ødegaard, captain, he's going to take on the shot,
Maybe you take
side netting.
responsibility,
Yeah, and fine, but better responsibility, square it. Your centre forward's got a tap in, open goal. Martinelli, he knew he was coming off. Like, he was substituted straight after that. He'd have known, he'd have seen, he's down that side, he'd have seen Trossard stripped, ready to come on. He'd have known. So that was his last moment, and you knew that so I can see game state he was going to take that on. However, don't care about you individually, my friend. Care about my team. Square it, and Gyökeres has got an absolute tap-in. There was that thing in the first half where Timber had the header, much like the Aston Villa game. Gyökeres is right behind him. Like, right behind him. He's making the movement to head it. What is Timber doing there? And is Gyökeres a mouse?
Call him.
Because Timber didn't even acknowledge, because you watch it, he has the header and he runs away. It misses, and he runs back. He doesn't even look around, doesn't even acknowledge Gyökeres, as if he has no clue Gyökeres is behind him. And in which case, why is Gyökeres not letting him know?
Yeah.
But so first half, definitely big question mark, real concern. Second half, I thought he was a lot better. And can you imagine his game and his the way he'd be perceived had he knocked in 2 tap-ins from 2 yards? Because his Martinelli and Ødegaard teammates squared it to him. So we're not talking about him in a concerning sense at all. In that, even if everything else happened as it did in the game for him, if those two players had squared it, it's a very different conversation, and that's not his fault. He was there. He was in the right position. He was where he should have been. Square the ball. I've got to tap in. He wasn't hiding. Like, he wasn't, hiding. That sometimes when players lack confidence, especially forward players, they'll basically go to their marker, so it looks like they're marked. He wasn't doing that. So I'm a little bit less concerned about him, more concerned about the system around him and the players not utilising or trusting him. Maybe, I don't know.
Do you think it's taking them time to sort of trust him in the sense that he's not a habit? He's quite functional in the way he plays. He doesn't have a lot of
finesse.
Well, there's no finesse, which is fine.
He's the anti-Gabriel Jesus, and I'm getting annoyed. We talked about it last time. That people are making these comparisons. They are completely different kinds of players.
Yeah. But it's taken them time to learn his game.
Haaland isn't linking up and finesse play.
No, but they trust him because he's doing the job. So it's just, just give it to him. And maybe there's an element of, if we keep trying to, like you said, Holly, there are opportunities to maybe find him. Maybe there's that slight, yips thing where they're just stalling slightly to think, it's likely that it's not going to come off, or it might run out of play because it's in an inefficient pass, and we've got to just recycle until something better presents itself, because we know that's what Mikel wants.
Yeah, that's the systemic issue, absolutely.
Right.
And I think that's why someone like Eze, he's more mercurial. He's more what's the word? His profile's different. He's more willing to, like the passes he's put through to Martinelli for his goals in the Champions League. Was it Bayern Munich?
And the City game.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, the City game. And we needed that. I know that Real Madrid City and Bayern Munich would have been playing a little bit higher than Wolves were, but it's still, there were opportunities in that second half to feed Gyökeres, and we didn't take them. So, not as concerned about Gyökeres. However, he needs a goal. So next Saturday against Everton will be just the ticket. Should we do our takeaways?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay, Steph, who's your man of the match?
In the heat of the moment last night, I said Trossard, but in the cold light of day, it probably was Saka. Albeit, again, systemically, we were very much looking for him in the first half. The fact that, he was on the ball, he never hides, and then has delivered two brilliant crosses.
Well, he doesn't get an assist for either of those, but he should do.
He absolutely should do. Yeah, they're quality. And I sent an image earlier. Someone had put up that he's essentially assisted quite a lot in recent games, opening game for the Bayern game and various others. Chelsea, for example.
I mean, as an example, that's an example of a player who we are playing to their strengths,
yes,
as opposed to Gyökeres. And I thought that was Saka's best game in a while. He's been kind of a little bit feeling for his form. Not brilliant, not his ball's not coming off, his crosses overhit in even the Villa game, as recently as the Villa game. But I thought he was close to being back to his best there yesterday. Chris, man of the match.
Saka.
Yeah.
Same for the same reasons. I mean, we go over it again and again, but yeah. Saviour.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with me as well, Steph. I had the same conversation, or same thought process, or the same journey as you in terms of man of the match. Which player then, Steph, do you think impressed you?
Well, it was
Trossard. Were you most impressed with?
It was Trossard, because when he came on in the second half, it just felt like his passing had much more purpose. The Wolves defenders all of a sudden had something completely different to think about. And I just think that it was weird how the movement around him improved because of that as well.
Clever.
He is clever. But again, I worry it's a bit like the Gyökeres situation, that there are certain relationships and it's like, oh, well, if I make that run, I trust Trossard to find me. Whereas the people with the ball don't yet trust Gyökeres to get on the end, and I don't know.
Well, Henri used to say that all the time. He said, if I saw Pires, Bergkamp or Vieira on the ball, I just ran.
Yeah.
And Wenger pulled him aside one day. He was complaining. He noticed that Henri did his old flailing arms at a wayward pass, and then Wenger had a chat with him in training the following day, and said, "No, you were the problem, not the pass. Each of these players pass differently.
Yeah. Your
Your job as a centre forward is to know how they're going to pass, and you make the run according to whoever's got the ball." When I think I've mentioned this before, I was mind blown.
Oh, well, I love that. I love
that's
that.
brilliant.
And you think of the profile of players that we've got: Odegaard, Eze, Saka, Trossard. They are all
Rice.
different. They do have their own sort of personality and ways of delivering things. It's not a metronome of I don't know. When I think of, I can't think of an example that probably won't offend lots of people. But when we went through that period when
Don't stop.
The great lords Kieran Tierney he would put in cross after cross after cross, and it would it was the same kind of thing, and no one could get on the end of it. And whereas with this lot, they're all doing slightly different things, and whether it's Gyökeres adjusting to that or them adjusting to Gyökeres, but Trossard just came on and oozed class.
Can I ask you a question? This is not relevant to our 4 takeaways, but the start I should have mentioned at the start. The starting lineup. He didn't go with we all predicted the front 3. But he didn't go with he went with the system that I said, but he had Eze instead of Ødegaard starting. He didn't go with the 2 Eze and Ødegaard together. That's fine. I get that. I would have liked him to. Might not have made a difference. Might have made every difference. I don't know. But the issue was that in the back line, White obviously playing at right back. Timber as the right side. No, sorry. Timber as the right-sided centre back, wasn't he? And Saliba as the left-sided centre back.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
And Nkapie on the left. With Nkapie on the left, I think we lost. And we saw this when White went off injured and Miles Lewis-Skelly came on at left-back. We were instantly more threatening down the left-hand side because he runs with the ball. And I just wonder, do you think that Arteta got the back 4 wrong?
In hindsight, I think that, just because of the way it played out. And I'm also troubled if he said basically Saliba shouldn't have been playing. Then I really worry about that, because Norgard did fine against Bruges, just fine, it's okay. But you put Nkapie next to him, he can be the one that can track the runners, because Nkapie likes to be proactive. So Norgard can step up and try and win the headers and do all those sorts of things, because Wolves were essentially trying to look to counter us anyway. So I think that bringing Saliba back in, fine, I get that, but then everyone else has moved around to adjust it, and it was just perhaps too many changes.
I said at the time, what do you think about this, Chris? Nkapie is probably the most like-for-like centre-back we've got for Gabriel.
Mm.
He's that as you said, Steph, he's that proactive. He wants to jump up and So why not leave him as the left-sided centre-back?
Don't know.
It just... Yeah. I mean, it was a bit of a question mark. We queried it at the time, but again, the qualification was we're home to the worst team statistically in Premier League history. This shouldn't matter.
I was just going to say that should have been a redundant thing with the defensive lineup in a sense. I get it. MLS comes on and he's got that ball carrying aspect and he sort of inverts into midfield. Great, but really that back 4 should have been enough in whatever iteration.
Mm. Okay, sorry. It just popped into my head about the back line, and again, only because of how poorly we played and how insipid we were, it becomes a bit of a talking point, perhaps. Chris, which player impressed you?
It's Tross again for all the reasons, really. Copy and paste.
Ditto me. Steph, positive takeaway. Come on, there's an obvious one.
3 points. That's it.
Yes,
I've put literally 3 points. That's all in brackets.
Yeah,
I agree. I wrote here, can't say winning ugly because of the way we played. It just felt like a sort of it just feels like we're almost cheating by saying we won ugly. Just feel.
I was going to say that
saying
earlier.
it.
You know, when you asked the question, was it the stuff of champions or something like that?
Yeah.
That it's obviously one of those things, but as people who have watched lots of football matches, there are those games when a team, wins like champions because it's not functioning well. But that wasn't whatever we watched last night wasn't it, because there was the look of the own goals, but there was the completely insipid performance. The kind of stuff of champions is that they resist attack after attack, and they can do the rear guard action when they can't impose their game on an opposition. Whereas what we were playing was just this insipid, benign possession.
Someone pointed out that Liverpool only beat Southampton, who would be the equivalent to Wolves last season, with a 90-something minute goal at Anfield. So it is. We played. If you think about the wording, then we played poorly but won the game.
Yeah.
The manner in which we won it is important if it continues, Chris, as you said.
This is the key, yeah.
But actually, we won the game. We need to just draw a line. He's given the players 2 days off. Good. I
was going to offer you another positive, really, just broadening it out. We do have a week off before the next game, and that is huge.
Yeah.
I think.
They're not going to Dubai, are they, by any chance?
They're probably already there.
I hope. I would.
Ben White will be. Oh, poor Ben White.
He's got a sunbed at home. He'd be fine.
I was thinking more. He's now going to have some time
off. He's injured. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is another centre back down.
It's crazy.
And any option to rest Timber over the festive period is now gone. So, because Mosquera's gone, he's out. Mosquera won't be back till January. Gabriel, end of December, beginning of January, probably mid-January by the time he comes back into the fray. Anyway, no more fallen, wounded soldiers, perhaps. Yeah, mine was won the game. Negative takeaway then, Steph?
Whatever, and again, I'm worrying that it's a bit of a pattern, but I had flashbacks, as someone in our comments on Spotify pointed out, flashbacks of Sunderland. Something, and it's a really weird thing. So Sunderland, Villa, and then against Wolves yesterday, we do the hard bit. We come out after half time, after a struggling in the first half, and we show an improvement. That's the thing that makes me think it could be the stuff of champions, because we are able to step up and improve. Sometimes it's easy to start in a high gear and then go down, but sometimes it can be really hard to start in a low gear and then build yourself up. But
yeah.
we've done that, and we've got back, we've got the goal, we did it against Sunderland, got the lead, and then sat back. It was just ridiculous. The best form of a defence against Wolves yesterday would have been to carry on attacking, because they found it so difficult to get in on our goal. Yeah, there was the chance in the first half, but they were very, very few and far between. And so why we suddenly... And look, momentum shifts in football matches, and Wolves, whether there was a tactical thing going on, I'm not, nuanced enough to know that. But it did feel like that it was an attitude of, okay, we're sitting back. Were we scared? There's a lot of discourse at the moment about the fact that Rice wasn't particularly happy with that. He was almost having a go at people when the Jesus / own goal went in, and the fact that he went straight down the tunnel. He allegedly, so someone I know sits above the tunnel, and Rice said to one of the coaches, "Not good enough, not effing good enough." We take that to mean what it is, but there was clearly, and Arteta's comments after the game were, defensively that was not what we wanted. So it was weird. That the sitting back basically is my negative.
I'm glad to hear that Rice said that, and I'm glad to hear that he's not happy, because that's what we want. I remember Arsenal teams with no accountability, and I hope Rice was tearing a new one on the players he felt, because I trust him. He knows who's playing it safe, who's not caring, who's not caring, that's wrong, who's not taking that risk, who's being too cautious. But we thought it was an Arteta decision, because it looked like from like the 85th minute on that we were just not going to cross the halfway line.
Yeah.
We were going to let Wolves have the ball in their own half, have their possession in the own half, keep them at arm's length. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Madness.
And it was, we weren't asking for, no point. We weren't thinking, oh, well, let's go chasing a second goal and then risk leaving ourselves open at the back. That's not what we're asking for. We had enough players. Well, we're asking just to continue what we were doing.
Yeah.
It's just keep attacking, keep pushing, putting pressure on them. They'll crumble. They're tired. They've been chasing shadows for, we had 80% possession. Well, yes, for the whole season, absolutely. And missing a lot of players also. But Arteta's post-match comments suggest that he didn't issue that instruction because he was quite cross. He said for 3 or 4 minutes we couldn't fight. It was unacceptable defensive decisions or something like that. I mean, I've written down poverty defending is what it was. It was, I don't know, I didn't get it at all. And that, I mean, you talk about the resilience and so on. Well, we're going to have tougher challenges and we're going to find ourselves in bigger holes than 1-0 up at home to Wolves, the bottom club. It's not like... what did it look like on the TV, Chris? What were they saying?
By that time, I was in pieces, so I can't.
Like your gnome.
I didn't, and I think you said, Holly, that you didn't celebrate the goals as much.
This is my other apology. Like, I'm such a privileged position to be able to go to the games, and I was so frustrated and angry that I did the old double fist clench when the ball went in, and everyone was just like bouncing around me, and I was just shaking my head. I was just like,
yeah. I was exactly the same at home. I was numb.
Yes,
by that. As soon as it went, I just went, right. So we've gone 2-1 up. Okay, are we going to concede another one? I mean, it was just. It was a state of kind of disbelief of what I was seeing. It had taken me up and down, and
I was angry. I was embarrassed. I was like, this shouldn't. This shouldn't. And I knew. I said to Steph, turned around straight away. I said, that was an own goal, wasn't it? Because I looked at, you could see that, because I wasn't going mad. I saw that Jesus wasn't really celebrating as if it was his goal.
He was saying like, own goal. He was mouthing own goal.
Oh, was he?
As
right,
he peeled away, he was going own goal, own goal.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because of him that the guy headed it like that. So he
he put pressure on him.
He gets the credit for that, forcing the error as such. But yeah, I kind of was.
People have mentioned the Reece Nelson moment in the same breath, but that was very different because that was, we go behind so early, and when you go 2-0 down and then you build up to then come back to 3-2, that carries this huge wave that then leads to an eruption, and we were very much sort of vying for the title, and it was all very new in that sense. Whereas this, because of everything that came before, I mean, if I remember that game, Bournemouth sucker punched us with basically a kick-off routine, didn't they? And they were 1-0 up in like a minute. So everyone was kind of like shell-shocked, whereas, Wolves hadn't done something that impressive. We'd done nothing. And so to then be in that situation, like you say, it was weird. It was a kind of muted
relief as well.
Oh, massive relief. But also sort of feeling like we got away with one.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, really.
Like it wasn't elation.
No, it wasn't.
You'd imagine a 94th minute winner.
Yeah, if you'd told me that, but then, it's all about circumstance. It's the team at the bottom of the league. It's the terrible 80-something minutes before that. It's all of those sorts of things.
Such a bunch of entitled twats, aren't we?
Yeah, we're human, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, what was I on? Negative takeaway?
Yeah. I mean, for me is the lack of ideas, the ability to, or lack of ability to break down a side that we knew would play like this was worrying. But the overarching thing for me is like, is this a trend? Is this something that can be, it's just a form thing? It's just a blip, which is obviously what we're hoping, and that we'll see a very different performance against Everton.
Well, we're going to need to.
Oh, yeah.
And as confident as I was prior to the Wolves game, equal is my fear for the Everton game, like in its depth. I'm not. Well, we'll review that on Wednesday. We'll review that one.
Yeah. And we really are looking over our shoulders now as well.
Well, pressure's on. So, I mean, of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? This is what we'd expect. It's a tough old league. I started this podcast by referencing the fact I was looking for a statement. What a statement do you think we actually did make?
Who knows?
We're tired.
We're not,
and we know we are.
We're not as good as we think we are. I don't know. Oh.
We're lulling the opposition in.
Yeah, right.
Watch us 4-0 Everton.
Did you think?
Sorry, Richard.
With all this talk about Wolves beforehand, do you feel like you're watching the worst team in Premier League history? Because I don't.
No, I didn't.
I mean, I said in our preview that actually I've seen the odd Wolves game here and there, and they look all right in patches. They haven't been doing well in adversity, but yeah, even from last game to this, they just looked a bit more organised and committed. And and a friend of mine, Ryan, messaged me and said, "First time I can say this season. I feel, how did he put it? First time I've had the chance to say this, but I don't think we deserve to lose necessarily." And the fact that the own goals come into play kind of plays into that. The other little fact was about Rob Edwards. So he managed the team that last scored 3 goals in a game against Arsenal, and he managed a team that scored 3 goals in a game against Arsenal yesterday as well.
Luton.
That was Luton. That was another late win.
Was that Havertz header
No,
or was it
Rice?
Rice
Header from the Odegaard cross, and I went absolutely mad. I ended up climbing some kind of like scaffolding thing on the side that was all where this like camera mount was, and all got very heated.
God, it's like the 80s.
It was. Well, it's Luton away. Like, that's what it looks like.
I've done will we do negative takeaways? No, I did.
We've
that.
done
I
it.
forgot about
We've
that.
done
Okay,
it.
yeah. I was saying same as you guys.
Not many positives.
What was the other?
You want more negative takeaways, do you?
I've lost it. There was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, Spurs.
Oh, that's a positive
Right.
takeaway. There we go.
Here's one thing, though, and it sort of plays into this idea because there were so many people that were caught up in the Wolves story. Pedro Porro was interviewed after the game, and he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing massively, he said, we're finding Premier League games harder than Champions League games at the moment. Now, I know a few people have said that their draw in the Champions League isn't necessarily the hardest, but I think it sort of plays into this idea that the Premier League, with its spending power, the depth going down, and Forest are a good team, don't get me wrong, but they played in Europe on Thursday. Palace are now in a run where basically if they play on the Thursday, they really don't get much on the Sunday. I think they've got 1 point from a possible 15 after the European games, which is obviously bad. But Forest played on the Thursday and were able to then beat Spurs, who played midweek, albeit in the Champions League, on the Sunday and beat them 3-0. But I thought that was really interesting, and people do need to keep in check that, Wolves, for all the points tally and everything like that, are not, the worst team in the world ever. And you've got to earn the right to those victories. And thankfully, with Saka's deliveries, we managed to do that. But the Premier League is so tough, and whether it's us, whether it's City, whether it's Villa, are going to face some tough tests to come, and we will drop points again at some point. So I'm absolutely delighted we managed to get the 3, but it was a performance that wasn't really befitting them.
But it's 3 points. Our 3 points are the same as City's 3 points.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like any goal. Yeah, sure, you'd like the 25-yarder, but
it was a City who conceded more chances to Palace, or certainly sort of like greater chances. But they've got the they're the ones with the finisher. That's the difference.
9 chances in the first half alone.
Yeah, exactly.
They ceded to Palace. And is it next weekend, Steph? You said it before we start recording. I know we're away at Everton. Oh no, sorry, it wasn't.
It's in the new year.
It was the new year. Was it 1st of January that City go to Sunderland?
Yeah.
I think that's their next tricky game. They're home to West Ham. That's it. They're home to West Ham next week.
And where
are we worried about?
They play before us. They play before us on the Saturday.
Oh, probably.
Great.
So they'll definitely be above us. So we'll be going into the Everton game in second place. Well, there you go. We'll find out about Arsenal then, won't we?
Yeah.
So bring it on. I'm here for it. Should we leave it there?
Probably.
Yeah. On
Are we
that
going to be
happy note.
previewing Everton later in the week?
Yeah, so we'll catch up again maybe on Wednesday before I disappear to Ireland again. So you, Chris, you can get out your jaded stereotypes and.
How dare you?
Oh, Holly's looking for a little bit of internet connection in a window, looking.
It's an enduring image.
It's probably a little bit too accurate. Right, okay, cheers for that, and cheers for listening, cheers for watching. Hope you've got a little bit more of a smile on your faces now, because we did actually win the game,
and we
still are top. So anyway, have a good few days. We see you again later on in the week. Cheers, bye.
See ya.
Bye. The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.